Ha-Rin stood in her small dorm room, staring at the empty space where her backpack should have been. Her hands trembled slightly as she checked under the bed again, then behind the desk, then in the closet. It was gone. Really gone. The backpack was old and worn, with patches sewn on by her grandfather's hands. Inside were her research notes for the semester, some data chips, and most importantly, her grandfather's journal. He had carried that journal through his whole life, writing down his thoughts and dreams. When he died last year, he left it to Ha-Rin. It was the only thing she had brought from Earth that truly mattered. She walked quickly down the corridor of the dormitory, her footsteps echoing on the metal floor. The station was massive, home to thousands of students from hundreds of different worlds. Ha-Rin was one of only 50 humans studying at Galactic University Station Theta 7. Humans were new to space, new to this whole galactic community thing. They had only made first contact with aliens 50 years ago. At the security office, a tall creature with blue scales looked down at her with 6 eyes. Ha-Rin tried to keep her voice steady. "Someone stole my backpack from my room. I need to file a report." The security officer tapped something on his screen with a clawed finger. What was inside? Personal items, a journal, my research notes. Ha-Rin waited, hoping he would take this seriously. "Any value?" the officer asked, not looking up. "It has value to me. The journal belonged to my grandfather." The officer made a sound that might have been a sigh. Human sentiment. Look, small thefts happen all the time. Unless it was expensive technology or rare materials, we cannot prioritize this. Too many cases. Ha-Rin felt frustration rising in her chest. "But someone broke into my room. Your door was unlocked. No forced entry. Not breaking in." The officer finally looked at her. "Advice? Be more careful. Humans are easy targets here. Everyone knows you do not fight back." She left the security office feeling anger burn in her stomach. Easy targets. That was what they thought of humans. Weak. Soft. Too emotional. Too kind. She had heard it before in whispers from other species. Some students had even said it to her face. Back in her room, her roommate Jiwoo sat at his desk, working on some engineering project. He looked up when Ha-Rin entered. "Any luck?" "No, they said it is low priority." Jiwoo put down his tools and turned to face her. His expression was tired. "Yeah, it happens. Happened to me twice last semester. Someone took my datapad. Another time my jacket. Security never did anything. I think some species see it as a game. Steal from the humans. They will not fight back. That is horrible. It is reality up here." Jiwoo shrugged. "We are new. We are small compared to most species. We do not have claws or thick skin or poison. They think we are weak." Ha-Rin thought about this for a long moment. Then she stood up. "I am not leaving my grandfather's journal in some thief's hands. I am going to find it." Over the next 3 days, Ha-Rin asked questions. She talked to other human students who had items stolen. She learned about patterns. There was a black market area in one of the lower station levels where stolen goods were sold. It was technically illegal, but security rarely checked it. She also called Tae-min, her childhood friend who now lived on a human colony 3 systems away. His face appeared on her holo screen, concerned. "Ha-Rin, maybe you should just let it go. Buy a new notebook." "It is not about the notebook. It is about principle." Ha-Rin shook her head. "And it is my grandfather's journal, Tae-min. I cannot just let it go." "Then be careful, please." Tae-min looked worried. "I know that look on your face. You are planning something stubborn." She smiled slightly. "You know me too well." On the 4th day, Ha-Rin went to the lower levels. The black market was not really a market at all. Just a wide corridor where vendors set up tables with various items. Some were legitimate, some were clearly stolen. She walked slowly past each table, scanning the goods. Then she saw it. Her backpack, sitting on a table run by a massive reptilian creature. The vendor was at least 7 feet tall, with thick scales and sharp teeth. He was laughing with another alien, not paying attention to his goods. Harin approached the table. Her heart was beating fast, but she kept her face calm. That backpack. It is mine. It was stolen from me. The vendor turned to look at her. His eyes were yellow and cold. This? I bought this. It is mine now. This. 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 No. It was stolen. I want it back. Harin reached for the backpack. The vendor's hand shot out and grabbed her wrist. His grip was tight, painful. You accuse me of theft, little human? You have proof? You have receipt? Other vendors and customers were watching now. Harin tried to pull her wrist free, but the vendor was too strong. He squeezed harder, and she felt tears spring to her eyes from the pain. I thought humans were supposed to be smart, the vendor said loudly, playing to his audience. But you are all just soft and stupid. Go away before I break something. He shoved her backward. Harin stumbled, but did not fall. She looked at her backpack on his table, then at the vendor, then at all the watching aliens. They were amused. This was entertainment to them. She left the black market with her wrist bruising and her mind racing. Ji-woo was right. Security would not help. The vendor would not give her backpack back just because she asked. She needed something else, some way to make them take her seriously. That night, Harin could not sleep. She lay in her bed thinking about her grandfather. He had been a farmer on Earth, strong and stubborn. He used to tell her stories about earning respect from difficult neighbors, about standing your ground when people tried to push you around. He never started fights, but he never backed down from what was right. She got up and went to her computer. She started researching the station's layout, its history, its abandoned sections. There had to be something. Some angle she was missing. That was when she found the files about Level 47 Sub. It had been a research level decades ago, where scientists studied dangerous alien animals. There had been an accident. Some creatures escaped. The level was sealed off quickly, and everyone evacuated. But the files said the creatures were never captured. They were just left there when the level was sealed. Harin read more. The creatures were called Vexari. They were apex predators from a jungle planet. Highly intelligent. Pack hunters. The files had warnings in red text. Dangerous. Do not approach. Lethal force authorized. The level had been sealed for 30 years. Everyone assumed the creatures had died by now. The station's administration had just left it alone, a problem forgotten. Harin stared at the screen for a long time. An idea was forming in her mind. It was crazy. It was dangerous. But she was a xenobiology student. She had studied predators, pack behavior, animal psychology. She understood how these creatures might think. If the Vexari were still alive down there after 30 years, they would be desperate, hungry. But also survivors. Intelligent survivors. And Harin needed allies, real ones, the kind that other species would respect. She closed her computer and lay back down. Tomorrow, she would do something either very brave or very stupid. Maybe both. But she would not be an easy target anymore. She would not let them win. Her grandfather's journal was in that backpack, and she was going to get it back, no matter what it took. Harin stood in front of the sealed door to Level 47 Sub, her heart pounding in her chest. The corridor was dark here, far from the main station areas. Dust covered everything. No one came down here. Ji-woo had tried to stop her that morning. This is insane, Harin. Those creatures will kill you. Maybe they are all dead by now, she had replied, though she did not really believe it. And if they are not dead, what then? Harin had not answered that question. She just packed a small bag with medical supplies, some food rations, and her student access card. The card should not work on this door, but she had modified it using her xenobiology lab clearance. It was technically illegal, but so was stealing her backpack. Now, standing here alone, she used the card. The door's panel blinked red, then yellow, then green. With a hiss of air, the door slid open. Stale air rushed out, smelling of decay and something wild. Ha-Rin turned on her flashlight and stepped inside. The door closed behind her automatically, making her jump. The sound echoed in the darkness. She was committed now. Level 47 sub had been a research facility, so there were lab rooms, containment areas, and observation stations. But 30 years of neglect had changed everything. Pipes had burst, water had flooded and dried, and strange alien plants had somehow grown in the darkness. They glowed faintly with bioluminescence, casting everything in an eerie blue-green light. Ha-Rin walked slowly, her footsteps careful. She listened for any sound of movement. The research files said Vex Ari were ambush predators. They would watch their prey first, study it, then attack from the shadows. She tried not to think about being prey. In one large room that had been an observation deck, she found bones. Lots of bones. Small creatures, maintenance robots, torn apart, even what looked like a security drone. Something had been eating whatever it could find down here. Ha-Rin's hands were shaking. This was real. Something was alive down here. Something that hunted and killed. She set down her bag and pulled out food rations. She opened 3 packages and spread them on the floor, then backed away to the doorway. If the creatures were hungry, this would attract them. She just hoped they would investigate the food before they investigated her. She waited in the doorway for what felt like hours. Her legs ached from standing still. Then she heard it. A soft clicking sound, like claws on metal. It came from the darkness above her. Ha-Rin slowly pointed her flashlight up. 2 glowing eyes stared back at her from a broken ventilation shaft. Then, 4 more eyes appeared. Then, 6 more. Her breath caught in her throat. 4 creatures, each the size of a large wolf, were watching her from above. Their bodies were sleek and muscular, covered in dark fur with pale markings. Their eyes reflected her light like a cat's eyes, shining in the dark. Vex Ari. And they were very much alive. The largest one dropped down from the shaft, landing silently despite its size. It was at least 4 feet tall at the shoulder. Ha-Rin pressed herself against the doorframe, trying not to run. Running would trigger their chase instinct. The creature approached the food carefully, never taking its eyes off Ha-Rin. It sniffed the rations, then looked back at her. The intelligence in those eyes was startling. This was not just an animal. This was a thinking being, making decisions. Slowly, Ha-Rin knelt down, making herself smaller and less threatening. She kept her eyes lowered, not challenging the creature. She had studied predator behavior. Respect and caution, not fear. Fear made you prey. The creature took one of the rations in its mouth and backed away. Then the other 3 dropped down from the shaft. Ha-Rin's heart nearly stopped. 3 smaller ones, juveniles, cubs. The large one was a mother, and these were her children. The cubs were curious. They approached the food, making small chirping sounds. They were still young, playful. One of them got too close to Ha-Rin, and the mother made a sharp clicking noise. The cub jumped back immediately. Ha-Rin watched them eat. The mother was protective, but not aggressive. She was just keeping her cubs alive in this forgotten place. 30 years was a long time. This mother might be the grandchild or great-grandchild of the original escaped creatures. A whole pack had survived down here, hidden and forgotten. As she watched, Ha-Rin noticed something. The mother was limping. Her front left leg had something embedded in it, a piece of metal partially buried in the fur and flesh, an old trap or piece of broken machinery. It must have been there for a while, infected and painful. Ha-Rin made a decision that was either brilliant or fatal. She slowly reached into her bag and pulled out the medical kit. She opened it carefully, showing the supplies. The mother watched every movement. I can help, Harin said softly. She did not know if the creature understood words, but tone mattered. Calm, gentle, non-threatening. That looks like it hurts. Let me help. The mother growled low, a warning sound. Harin stayed still, the medical supplies visible in her hands. She waited. Patience was important. Trust took time. The cubs finished eating and began exploring the room, playing with each other. They wrestled and chased, making happy chirping sounds. The mother watched them, then looked back at Harin. Something passed between them in that moment. An understanding. Harin was not a threat. She had brought food. She was not attacking the cubs. Slowly, the mother approached. Harin's mouth went dry. Every instinct screamed at her to run, but she stayed still. The creature came close enough that Harin could feel its breath. It smelled wild, like wet earth and something sharp. The mother extended her injured leg, just slightly. An offering. A test. Harin moved very carefully. She examined the injury without touching it first. The metal piece was deep, and the wound was infected. She prepared an antiseptic spray and showed it to the mother, letting her smell it. Then, with steady hands, she sprayed the wound. The mother flinched but did not pull away. Harin worked quickly. She used a small tool to carefully extract the metal piece. It came out with some blood, and the mother made a pained sound, but she stayed still. Harin cleaned the wound, applied antibacterial gel, and wrapped it with a flexible bandage. There, Harin whispered. The mother stepped back and tested her leg. She looked at Harin for a long moment, then made a soft clicking sound. It was different from the warning click. This one sounded almost like approval. The cubs came running over, curious about what their mother was doing. They crowded around Harin, sniffing her with their small noses. One of them licked her hand. Another tried to chew on her sleeve. Harin laughed. The sound, startling, in the quiet space. She carefully petted one of the cubs, running her hand over its soft fur. It leaned into her touch, purring like a large cat. The mother watched this and did not object. Instead, she lay down nearby, keeping watch, but relaxed. Harin spent the next hour with them. She learned their sounds and movements. The mother's name needed to be something meaningful. Looking at the pale markings on her dark fur, Harin decided on Hyan. It meant white in Korean. The three cubs she named Dal, Bayol, and Hanul. Moon, star, and sky. They seemed to fit. When it was time to leave, Harin stood carefully. I will come back tomorrow, she promised. With more food. Hyan watched her go. The cubs gathered around their mother. As Harin reached the door, she looked back. 4 sets of glowing eyes watched her from the darkness. But she was not afraid anymore. She had found her allies. Now she just needed to teach them to trust her completely. And then, she would go back to that black market vendor. But not alone. Never alone again. Harin smiled as the door sealed behind her. The thief had taken her backpack thinking she was weak and helpless. He was about to learn a very important lesson about underestimating humans. They might not have claws or scales or poison, but they had something better. They had the ability to make friends with those who did. For 3 weeks, Harin visited level 47 sub every day. She brought food from the cafeteria, medical supplies when needed, and most importantly, her time and patience. The bond grew stronger each visit. Hyan's leg healed well, and she moved without limping now. The cubs grew bigger and more playful. They recognized Harin immediately when she arrived, rushing to greet her with happy chirping sounds. Jiwoo noticed the change in Harin. You seem happier, he said one evening as she packed her bag for another visit. I am working on a project, Harin replied, which was not exactly a lie. A project that makes you smell like wet animal? Jiwoo wrinkled his nose. What are you really doing? Harin? She looked at her roommate for a long moment, then made a decision. Can you keep a secret? A really big secret? Jiwoo nodded slowly. Of course. So Harin told him everything. About finding the Vexari, about Hyan and the cubs, about the bond they were building. Jiwoo listened with his eyes getting wider and wider. You are insane, he said when she finished. But also kind of amazing. Can I meet them? Not yet. I need them to trust me completely first. Harin shouldered her bag. But I am going to need your help soon. I am ready to get my backpack back. Jiwoo grinned. Oh, this I have to see. That night, Harin spent hours planning. The black market area was always busy in the evening. Lots of people. Lots of witnesses. That was good. She wanted everyone to see what happened. The next day, she went to level 47 sub with a different purpose. She brought a length of soft rope and some treats. It was time to see if the cubs would follow her outside their home. Hyan watched carefully as Harin gently looped the rope around Dal's neck. Not tight, just as a guide. Dal did not seem to mind. He was too busy trying to eat the treat Harin held. She walked toward the door, and Dal followed. Biol and Hanyul followed their brother. Curious. Hyan stood up. Clearly uncertain about her cubs leaving the safety of level 47 sub, Harin paused at the door. It is okay, she said softly to Hyan. I will protect them. I promise. Hyan stared at her for a long moment, then walked forward. She would come too. She would not let her cubs go anywhere. Without her. They used maintenance tunnels that Harin had mapped out. These passages ran behind the walls and under the floors, used by repair crews. They were empty. At this hour, the Vexari moved silently, their natural stealth making them like ghosts in the dim corridors. It took an hour to reach the level where the black market operated. Harin's heart pounded the whole way. This was really happening. She was bringing apex predators into a populated area. If this went wrong, people could get hurt. She could be expelled, arrested, or worse. But her grandfather's journal was in that backpack. And she was tired of being seen as weak. Jiwoo was waiting near the entrance to the black market corridor, as planned. His eyes went huge when he saw Hyan and the three cubs emerge from the maintenance hatch. Oh, stars, he whispered. They are real. They are really real. One. Real. Real. Stay here and watch, Harin told him. If anything goes wrong, hit the emergency alarm. Jiwoo nodded, unable to take his eyes off the Vexari. Harin took a deep breath and walked into the black market corridor. Hyan walked beside her, matching her pace exactly. The three cubs followed, Dal on her left, Biol and Hanul on her right. They moved like a trained unit, like they had been doing this forever. The first vendor to notice was selling data chips. His jaw dropped open. Then another vendor saw them. And another. A ripple of shock spread through the crowd. The reptilian vendor with Harin's backpack was in his usual spot, laughing with a customer. He did not notice her approach at first. His back was turned. Harin stopped about 10 feet from his table. The cubs sat down on either side of her, perfectly positioned. Hyan stood slightly ahead, her muscles tense and ready. Excuse me, Harin said calmly. Her voice carried in the sudden silence. The vendor turned around. His yellow eyes met Harin's first, then dropped to see what stood beside her. His face went pale under his scales. I believe you have my backpack, Harin continued in that same calm voice. The old one with patches. I can see it right there on your table. The vendor's mouth opened but no sound came out. Other aliens were backing away slowly, clearing the area. Everyone recognized Vexari. Everyone knew what they were capable of. Dal, the most playful of the cubs, padded forward and put his front paws on the vendor's table. He sniffed at the backpack, then looked back at Harin and made a questioning chirp. Yes, Dal, that is mine, Harin said gently. Biol and Hanul moved to flank the table, cutting off any escape route. They sat down, their glowing eyes fixed on the vendor. They looked like statues, like guardians. Hyan stepped forward until she was right in front of the vendor. She was massive, up close, all muscle and sharp teeth. She made a low sound in her chest. Not quite a growl, but definitely not friendly. The vendor scrambled backward, knocking over a container of stolen goods. "Take it," he stammered. "Take whatever you want. Please, just keep them away from me." Hareen walked forward calmly and picked up her backpack. She opened it to check. Everything was still inside. Her grandfather's journal, her notes, her data chips. All of it. "Thank you," she said politely to the vendor. "I appreciate your cooperation." She turned to leave, and the cubs immediately fell into formation around her. Hyan brought up the rear, walking backward for a few steps to keep her eyes on the crowd. The silence in the black market was absolute. Every alien there watched Harin walk away with apex predators moving like her personal guard. Some looked terrified. Some looked confused. A few looked impressed. As they reached the exit, Harin heard a voice from the crowd. "Did that human just domesticate Vex Ari?" Another voice answered. "Apparently." A third voice, full of new respect, said, "Maybe humans are not so weak after all." Harin allowed herself a small smile. Message received. Jiwoo fell into step beside her as they headed back to the maintenance tunnels. He was grinning like crazy. "That was the most amazing thing I have ever seen. His face. Did you see his face?" "I saw it," Harin replied, adjusting her backpack on her shoulders. It felt right to have it back. They made their way back through the tunnels to level 47 sub. Once inside, Harin gave each of the cubs extra treats and lots of praise. "You were all perfect," she told them. "So good. Such good cubs." They wagged their tails and climbed over each other, trying to get closer to her. "Will you come back tomorrow?" Jiwoo asked, as they prepared to leave. "Every day," Harin promised, scratching Bile behind the ears. "They are my pack now. And I take care of my pack." That night, Harin sat on her bed with her backpack in her lap. She opened her grandfather's journal and read his familiar handwriting. One entry caught her eye. Written years ago, "Respect is not given freely. It must be earned. But once earned, it changes everything. Stand up for what matters. Protect what you love. And never let anyone tell you that kindness is weakness. The strongest people I know are kind. They choose to be gentle, but they can be fierce when necessary." Harin closed the journal carefully. Her grandfather would have been proud of her. She had been kind to creatures everyone else feared. She had been patient and gentle. But when the time came, she had also been fierce. By morning, the story had spread across the entire station. The human student who walked into the black market with Vex Ari. Some versions said she controlled them with mind powers. Others said she was a secret beastmaster. A few said she had raised them from birth. None of them knew the truth was simpler and somehow more impressive. She had just been kind. She had helped an injured mother and earned her trust. And that trust had changed everything. No one would take Harin's backpack again. No one would take anything from any human student again. Because now, they knew the truth about humans. They might not have claws or scales, but they had something far more dangerous. They could turn apex predators into friends. Within 2 days, everything changed for Harin. Students who used to ignore her now stepped aside when she walked down the corridors. Some nodded respectfully. Others whispered as she passed. The security officer who had dismissed her theft report actually apologized the next time he saw her. But the biggest change came from the university administration. Harin was called to the dean's office on the 3rd day after the black market incident. Dean Vorthak was a tall, thin alien with purple skin and 4 arms. He gestured for Harin to sit down. His expression was unreadable. "I have seen the security footage," he said. "You brought Vex Ari into a populated area. This is extremely dangerous and against station regulations." Harin's heart sank. She was going to be expelled, sent back to Earth in disgrace, but Dean Vorthak continued. However, no one was harmed. The creatures were under complete control. And I have reviewed your academic record. You are a xenobiology student with excellent grades. He leaned forward. How did you do it? How did you bond with apex predators? Harin explained everything. The injured mother, the patient trust building, the daily visits. She spoke about animal behavior and pack dynamics. Dean Vorthak listened carefully. Remarkable, he said when she finished. With special permission, you may bring the cubs to your classes. This is a unique learning opportunity. However, the adult must remain in level 47 sub. We cannot risk a fully grown Vex Airy in student areas. Harin felt relief flood through her. Thank you, Dean Vorthak. I promise they will not cause any trouble. See that they do not. The dean dismissed her with a wave of one hand. And Miss Harin? Well done, recovering your property. That vendor has been causing problems for months. Security has been watching him since your visit. He will not be operating anymore. The next week, Harin brought Dal, Biol, and Hanul to her xenobiology class. Her professor, a kind alien named Dr. Melis, was fascinated. The whole class watched as Harin demonstrated commands. The cubs sat, stayed, and followed on cue. You have essentially replicated what your species did with wolves on Earth, Dr. Melis observed. Domestication through mutual benefit. Extraordinary. But not everyone was impressed. Dong Hyun, a human student Harin barely knew, approached her after class. He was tall and carried himself with confidence that bordered on arrogance. You are making us look bad, he said bluntly. Harin blinked in surprise. Excuse me? Humans are trying to be taken seriously in the galactic community. We are scientists, diplomats, engineers. We are not circus performers with trained animals. Dong Hyun crossed his arms. You are making us look like we are showing off. I am not showing off. I am studying interspecies bonding. Sure. And the whole black market display? That was just science? Dong Hyun shook his head. I study xenopsychology. I know manipulation when I see it. You are using fear to get respect. That is not real respect. Dong Hyun. Dong Hyun. Dong Hyun. Dong Hyun. Dong Hyun. Shook his head by respect. Harin felt anger rising in her chest. I am using partnership. There is a difference. Prove it, Dong Hyun challenged. Prove this bond is real. And not just you getting lucky with some desperate animals. Because right now, you are famous. Every alien on this station is talking about the human girl with her guard dogs, and I think you are enjoying the attention. Before Harin could respond, Dong Hyun walked away. The cubs growled softly, sensing her distress. She petted them to calm them down, but his words bothered her. Was she just seeking attention? Was the bond really as strong as she thought? That evening, Jiwoo found her sitting in the observation deck, the cubs asleep around her feet. He is just jealous. Maybe he has a point though, Harin said quietly. Maybe I am making humans look like we need animal protectors. You are showing what humans can do. That is different. Jiwoo sat beside her. Every species has their strengths. Some are strong, some are fast, some are smart. Humans build relationships. We are good at it. That is our strength. Harin wanted to believe him, but doubt lingered. The situation got worse 3 days later. Ambassador Yuna, the human diplomatic representative on the station, called an emergency meeting. Harin sat in a council chamber surrounded by representatives from a dozen different species. A massive warrior from the Vraxian Dominion spoke first. His name was General Kroth, and he looked like he could tear through metal with his bare hands. The presence of apex predators on this station is a security concern. These creatures are dangerous. What happens when they attack someone? They will not attack anyone, Harin protested. They are well behaved and bonded to me. You cannot guarantee that, another representative said. They are wild animals. General Krath stood up, his size intimidating even in the large chamber. The Vraxian Dominion believes humans are hiding their true capabilities. You claim to be weak and peaceful, but then you control apex predators? What else are you hiding? What else can you control? Ambassador Yuna, a woman in her 50s with sharp eyes, spoke calmly. We are not hiding anything. Harin's bond with these creatures is based on trust, not control. This is simply what humans do naturally. Naturally? General Krath scoffed. No species naturally bonds with predators. This is a trained military skill. We demand to know how it is done. The council erupted into argument. Some species supported Harin. Others demanded the Vexari be removed or killed. Harin sat there feeling smaller and smaller. Finally, the council chairperson called for order. We will vote in 3 days. Until then, the Vexari must remain in level 47 sub. All of them, including the cubs. Harin's heart broke. She would have to say goodbye to Dal, Biol, and Hanol, not knowing if she would ever see them again. That night, she visited level 47 sub one last time before the restrictions took effect. Hyan sensed her sadness immediately. Pressing close and making soft, comforting sounds. The cubs climbed all over her, trying to make her smile. I do not know what is going to happen, Harin told them, tears running down her face. But I will fight for you. I promise. Jiwoo stood in the doorway, keeping watch. We will figure this out, he said. You are not alone. Jiwoo, 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 Jiwoo. As if summoned by his words, Harin's communicator beeped. It was Taemin, her friend from the colony. His face appeared on the small screen. I heard what is happening. Taemin said, I am coming to the station. I will be there tomorrow. You need support. And you are going to get it. You do not have to do that, Harin said, wiping her eyes. You are my friend. Of course I have to. Taemin smiled. Besides, I want to meet these famous predators everyone is talking about. More messages came in over the next day. Other human students offered their support. A petition started circulating, signed by aliens and humans alike, asking for the Vexari to be allowed to stay. But the most important message came from an unexpected source. Dr. Mellis, Harin's xenobiology professor, requested permission to speak at the council hearing. I have been studying your bond with the Vexari, he told Harin. I have documented everything. I want to present my findings to the council. This is not just about you and some animals. This is about understanding a fundamental aspect of human nature that we have overlooked. When Harin looked confused, Dr. Mellis explained, humans are not the strongest species, not the fastest or most technologically advanced, but you have survived and thrived on Earth by forming partnerships with other species. Dogs, horses, cats, birds, even insects. No other species does this naturally. It is unique to humans, and it might be your greatest strength. The realization hit Harin like a physical force. She was not making humans look weak by bonding with the Vexari. She was showing what humans were truly capable of. Donghyun had been wrong. This was not about tricks or manipulation. This was about connection. About seeing past fear and finding common ground. About patience and trust and mutual respect. These were not guard dogs. They were partners, friends, pack, and Harin was going to make the council understand that, even if it meant standing before them and fighting for what was right, just like her grandfather would have done. Taemin arrived the next day, and together with Jiwoo, they helped Harin prepare her testimony. She would have one chance to explain, one chance to save Hyan and the cubs. She was not going to waste it. The council hearing was in 2 days. Harin spent every spare moment reviewing her notes, practicing her speech, gathering evidence. The cubs stayed with Hyan in level 47 sub, and Harin visited them each evening. On the night before the hearing, Hyan rested her massive head in Harin's lap. The cubs slept in a pile nearby. Harin stroked Hyan's fur and whispered, "Tomorrow, we show them who we really are. All of us. Together." Hyan's eyes glowed in the darkness, steady and trusting. Whatever happened tomorrow, Harin knew one thing for certain. She had done the right thing. She had seen past fear and found friendship. And that was worth fighting for. The council chamber was packed. Every seat was filled with representatives from different species, students, professors, and curious observers. Harin sat at a small table facing the council, her hands folded to keep them from shaking. Taemin and Jiwoo sat behind her in the public section, offering silent support. Ambassador Yuna stood at the podium first. "We are here to discuss the fate of 4 Vex Ari currently residing on this station, and the question of whether humans represent a security threat due to their ability to bond with predatory species." General Krath stood up immediately. "The Vraxian Dominion maintains our position. These creatures are dangerous. This human's control over them is unnatural. We do not know how she does it, which makes it a potential weapon. The Vex Ari should be removed, and humans should explain this ability fully." Murmurs of agreement came from several representatives. Then Dr. Mellis was called to speak. He activated a holographic display, showing footage of Harin with the cubs, detailed behavioral analysis, and historical data. "What Harin has accomplished is not unnatural," Dr. Mellis began. "It is completely natural for humans. Let me show you." The hologram changed to show images from Earth. Dogs sitting beside human children. Horses carrying human riders. Cats sleeping in human homes. Dolphins swimming with human trainers. Falcons landing on human arms. For thousands of years, humans have formed partnerships with other species. They domesticated wolves into dogs over 15,000 years ago. They worked alongside horses, cats, and countless other animals. No other known species in the galaxy has this relationship with apex predators and other creatures. The hologram showed more examples. Police dogs working with officers. Service dogs helping disabled humans. Search and rescue dogs finding lost people. Horses used in therapy. Cats providing companionship. It is not control, Dr. Mellis emphasized. It is partnership built on mutual benefit. The human provides food, safety, and care. The animal provides companionship, assistance, or protection. Both benefit. Both choose to participate. General Krath interrupted. "This proves my point. Humans can turn predators into weapons. This is a military capability." "No," Dr. Mellis said firmly. "This is a social capability. Watch this." The hologram showed footage of Harin removing the metal shard from Hyan's leg. It showed her bringing food, playing with the cubs, petting them gently. It showed Hyan choosing to approach Harin, choosing to trust her. The Vexari were not forced or controlled. They chose to trust Harin because she helped them, because she was kind, because she saw them as individuals, not just dangerous animals. This is what humans do. They build bridges where others see walls. The chamber was quiet now, everyone watching the footage. Even General Krath seemed thoughtful. Then it was Harin's turn to speak. She stood up, her legs weak but her voice steady. "I did not plan to bond with the Vexari," she began. "I went to level 47 sub, looking for a solution to a problem. Someone stole my backpack, and no one would help me get it back. I felt powerless and angry. But when I found Hyan and her cubs, I did not see weapons or guards. I saw a mother trying to keep her children alive in a forgotten place. I saw pain and hunger and survival." Harin looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of different representatives. "My grandfather taught me that respect is earned through actions, not demanded through force. When I helped Hyan with her injury, I was not trying to control her. I was just trying to help. When I brought food, I was not training them. I was feeding hungry cubs. Everything that came after was their choice. She touched a button, and her own hologram appeared, showing the 3 cubs sleeping in a pile, completely relaxed and safe. Dal, Biol, and Hanul are not weapons. They are children. They play and learn and trust. Hayan is not my guard dog. She is a mother who chose to trust me with the most precious thing she has, her cubs. Harin's voice grew stronger. You ask what humans are hiding. What else we can control? The answer is nothing and nothing. We cannot control other species. We can only offer friendship. We can only build trust. And yes, sometimes that trust leads to partnerships that others might find surprising. But that is not a threat. That is a gift. She deactivated the hologram and faced General Krath directly. You fear what you do not understand. But there is nothing to fear. Humans do not want to weaponize predators. We want to understand them, learn from them, coexist with them. That is what we have always done. Donghyun stood up from the audience section, and Harin tensed, expecting another challenge. But instead, he said, I was wrong. I accused Harin of making humans look bad. But she is actually showing what makes us special. I apologize. Ambassador Yuna smiled slightly and addressed the council. I propose a new initiative. Instead of fearing human-animal bonds, we should study them. We should learn from this ability. Perhaps other species can develop similar relationships with creatures on their worlds. This could be humanity's contribution to the galactic community. Not weapons, but understanding. 200. 16T4. The chamber erupted into discussion. Representatives talked among themselves, some heated, some thoughtful. General Krath sat down heavily, his expression conflicted. Finally, the council chairperson called for order. We will vote now. All in favor of allowing the Vex-Ari to remain on the station under Harin's care. Raise your appendage. Harin held her breath. One hand went up, then another, then 5 more. The count climbed. Even General Krath, after a long moment, raised one massive hand. The motion passes, the chairperson announced. The Vex-Ari may remain. Additionally, we approve Ambassador Yuna's proposal for a cross-species cooperation research initiative, with Harin as a consultant. Relief flooded through Harin so intensely that her knees almost buckled. Taemin and Jiwoo jumped up, cheering. Other humans in the audience joined them. Even some alien students applauded. After the hearing, Harin ran to level 47 sub. She found Hyan pacing anxiously. The cubs huddled together. The moment the door opened and they saw Harin, they rushed to her. We won, Harin laughed, tears streaming down her face as the cubs jumped around her and Hyan pressed against her side. We get to stay together. We get to stay. Over the following weeks, everything changed again, but in better ways. Thefts, targeting human students, stopped completely. No one wanted to risk angering the human who walked with predators. But more importantly, attitudes shifted. Other species began approaching Harin with questions. How do you bond with animals? Can you teach us? Could this work with creatures on our worlds? The research initiative became one of the most popular programs on the station. Harin's backpack became something of a legend. She still carried it everywhere, and wherever she went, at least one of the cubs walked beside her. No one would dare take it now. But not because they feared the cubs. They respected the bond. They understood what it represented. Donghyun became an unlikely friend. He helped Harin document her research, and even started his own project, studying the psychology of cross-species trust. I was jealous, he admitted one day. You found something special, and I tried to tear it down instead of celebrating it. I am sorry. You helped in the end, Harin replied. That is what matters. Jiwoo got special permission to help care for the Vex-Ari. He built them toys and climbing structures in level 47 sub, using his engineering skills. The cubs loved him, especially Hanyul, who followed him everywhere. Taemin visited as often as he could, making the trip from his colony to see Harin and meet the famous pack. "Your grandfather would be so proud," he told her. "You stood up for what mattered. You protected what you love. And you did it with kindness." 6 months later, Harin sat in the observation deck with her backpack beside her. Dal, Bayol, and Hanul slept around it, in a protective circle, just as they always did. They were bigger now, almost fully grown, but still cubs at heart. Hayan rested her head on Harin's lap, her eyes half closed in contentment. Through the massive window, ships from hundreds of worlds came and went, carrying students and diplomats and traders. Jiwoo dropped into the seat beside her, carrying 2 cups of coffee. "I heard. They are sending a delegation from Earth next month. They want to learn about your work." "I heard," Harin said, taking the coffee gratefully. "The university is creating a whole new department. Interspecies Cooperation Studies. And you are going to be teaching it. Just one class. I am still a student myself." Harin sipped her coffee and smiled. "But yes, teaching humans and aliens how to build bridges, how to see past fear, how to trust." They sat in comfortable silence for a while, watching the stars. Then Jiwoo asked, "Do you think they learned their lesson? About taking your stuff?" Harin looked down at her backpack, worn and patched but precious. The cubs shifted slightly in their sleep, their protective circle unbroken. Hayan's eyes opened just a bit, glowing faintly in the dim light. "Yes," Harin said quietly. "I think everyone learned something important." She pulled out her grandfather's journal and opened to the last page he had written. His words seemed prophetic now. "True strength is not about being the biggest or the strongest. It is about knowing who you are and standing firm in that knowledge. It is about building connections that others think are impossible. It is about choosing kindness even when the world expects you to be hard. That is the human way. That is how we survive. That is how we thrive." Harin closed the journal carefully and put it back in her backpack. 3 cubs slept around it, guarding it without even thinking about it. Not because they were trained to, but because they loved her. Because she was pack. No one would dare take it again. Not because they feared punishment, but because they understood what it represented. Trust. Friendship. The incredible power of connection between species. And that made all the difference. The stars turned outside the window, countless worlds with countless species. Somewhere out there, more humans were making friends, building bridges, forming impossible partnerships, because that was what humans did best. They turned predators into family. They turned strangers into friends. They turned fear into trust. And the galaxy was finally beginning to understand that humanity's greatest strength was not in their weapons or technology. It was in their hearts, in their ability to look at an apex predator and see not danger, but possibility. Not a threat, but a friend. Harin smiled and petted Hayan's head gently. Her backpack was safe. Her pack was together. And the future was full of promise. That was all that mattered.